morning from Seattle, Washington. It is Thursday. It is Thursday. Every Thursday, we are taking the time from, the schedule that I have, to share with you, best idea and practice that you can learn and apply to your, real estate business in today's market. Uh, it is July 30, right? So, yeah, the month is almost over. So we have 5 more months to go, for the year. And it's been very, very challenging year, right? So, with today's market, as you already know, and learn from the news, the market is when the market in general, it going, it's going through a tough time, right? It's going through a declining period, and I have learned a lot, 'cause I have been in real estate business for over 22 years, in terms of, how to survive and strive in today's market is something that I wanted to share with you. And this with the market that we in, right? We see the large percentage of sale make, in the past 5 to 6 years, it make to the investor, and spectacular, right? So how do we, and then, how do we see the impact of the market? So, so with that, all the, a lot of sale we're making for the investor, and that's going to be slowed down significantly. And the inventory of retail leasing, the inventory of office building leasing, and in terms of supply and demand, it changed dramatically, right? So getting us to understand the condition of the market, and at today's market versus like 4, 5, 6, 7 years, right? So this week I'll share with you about the mindset, right? How do we keep ourselves mentally strong, right? So that we can taking a positive step, getting your business, keep your business growing, right? And so the following is very detailed of the activity and the technique that you can apply into your business that helping you to grow in today's market, right? So the first one that I will look in and say, well, look at it, say, the 3 words I wanted to give you, we see predictable, duplicatable, and profitable, right? So if you really look at it and say, what are the activity, what are the things that you can do so that if you do it once, you can duplicate that again, right? So for example, if I were to, if I were to contact my sphere of influence, right? And if I contact the people that I know and work with them, and if 10% of my database gonna give me a referral, right? So something like that could be predictable. If I were to contact expire listing, contact for sale by owner, contact the prospect to prospect to build my business. So if my activity is predictable, right? So if I can do it, can I do it again, right? So the second word that I wrote down is the duplicatable. How do we duplicate what we done in the activity, the income producing activity, right? First you have to recognize that that two types of activity in the business, in the real estate business. The first activity is the income producing activity, right? And the second activity is the servicing, which is like non-producing income activity. So if you really look at the activity that really help to increase your business income, we see anything from customer acquisition, prospecting to find new business. That so follow up on your client, follow up on your meeting, right? And go on a presentation, go on and see the client, right? So if the income activity uh, is representing 50 and 60% of your schedule, right? Then and that would be great, because I think that it anybody can get into the business in the last 5 6 years, right? If you happen to sold up, and if you happen to take any type of listing, whether office building listing, retail listing, or residential sale, right? So if you take the listing, you happen to be there, but the market is going up, so you'll be able to get business, right? You'll be able to get listing sold. But some of those have shifted, have changed. It go into like a new normal that we all facing right now, right? So it's a new norm that we're dealing with, right? So as I shared with us in the past, in business, either we wait for business, we go and buy the business, or you know we go and earn the business, right? So I hope that you take the strong acts, you take the action and go and improve your business. So the three words would be predictable, duplicatable, and profitable, right? So it had to be, what type of activity of income producing activity that you're gonna build into your schedule every single day. That leading you to, more income, right? More appointment, right? More presentation, right? More, contract, more contract side, more contract that you send to escrow, and more closing, and more money for you, more earning for you, and you can help more people. So the action is producing the result, right? The activity that gonna make the difference, So waiting for business, and waiting for business to find you in today's market, really tough, right? So the next one I wanted to share with you, the next three words is attitudes, approach, and the expectation, right? What are your attitudes toward the business that you're in today, right? And so your attitude is gonna make a big difference for your business, right? So like myself, I have the schedule. I go to the office, I'm going out and help the client, right? So I'm going to work and create value for my client every single day, right? So what is the attitude that we have? What is the attitude that you have for your business? And that's gonna make a difference. What is the approach, right? So what is your approach toward your business? What is your approach toward the client, right? So the last one would be expectation. What do you expect out of it, right? What do you expect out of this business? That I talk to, work with, coaching, the active entrepreneur in today's market. They're producing great result, right? It's all about, it tied into like, what is your attitude, right? Making a whole big difference, right? And then, what is your approach, right? Do you have a strong approach? Do you have a positive approach, right? Do you have a productive approach, for your business, right? Because I know that, with the with the information that we absorb, through all the news, right? It's very negative right now. And if you really don't, work on your mindset, if you don't work on yourself, about your attitudes and your approach, and then you have a very low expectation or no expectation for your business. It's really hard. It's just about the mindset, right? What is your mindset toward the business that we're in, right? So the first thing that in striving and surviving and striving, growing and expanding your business in today's market, it's about the inventory, right? It's a product that we take in, right? So I always say that, regarding the market, right? So, it the market do what the market do, right? The product will sell. So depend when you take on the product, in this case, listing or leasing, deal that you're taking on, it's all about the price, right? So if you have an opportunity to serve the client, you price your you price your product right the day that you take on the listing, right? So it means that if your client want, if you price it, over the comparative market analysis projected the price, that you have to be strong, right? You have to be strong in your approach regarding taking the listing inventory product, right? So what would be the fair value, in terms of look at the market, whether it's gonna be flat out, it going straight up, or it declining, right? You do that yourself in terms of you do that report, but what would be determine the fair market price? Consider like taking it from 3 to 5% when you take on the listing product, right? So if the market decline, you'll be able to catch on with the comparative price, right? So I wrote down here. I wrote down here that it's supply and demand, right? Supply and demand. And if you look at it in today's market, look at the inventory. I'm here in Seattle, Washington, right? You look at the demand for retail leasing, and then you look at like office building leasing, right? And even luxury home that for sale, if you look at like, for example, if you look at office building leasing, right, and then you look at the demand for the office building, it's way down, right? On the other hand, the supply, on the other supply is, we have a large inventory of supply, right? Because if you look at all the major corporations like, Twitter, Amazon, and Microsoft, the majority workforce working from home, right? So the demand for the office building it less and less when we have large inventory. So what happened to the price in this case, right? You already know the price will be adjust. It not adjust up, it adjusts down, right? So if you're gonna talk to your client, maybe you look at it and say what would be a sellable, what would be a leasable, what would be a doable deal that you can take, right? So talk your client into it, right? Since since you have the buyer, right, have a multiple choice, look at residential listing and say, well, condition of the residential listing become critical in the process, right? So for example, listing property in today's market, perhaps, if it's residential, and we done over like 3,000 transactions in the past, where we have 78% of our business inventory is from listing sold. So we are very strong. We are very strong on that one, right? So you really have to look at and say, what can you do since you don't control the market, right? You don't control the market, but you control your product. You control the price of what you sell, right? So and then you control the condition. So why make a condition better? For example, if you staging the property, so create yourself a comparative, so that product sell, right? So So I wrote down here is that during the presentation with your client, right? When you providing the service to the client, right? When you take on a listing, when you take on the leasing or retail, you know, introducing the price reduction, right? And consider that in the package of listing, and then have your customer, have your client to sign that, right? So so when in the 30 days, when the leasing is not the listing is not sold, you got an automatic price reduction, right? And fill in, it's completed. Because I think it's all about the price, right? It's all about the price. It's a market, but it's a you know if you price it right, it's selling, right? Um, so I wrote down, yes, you become, very knowledge about the market, right? So, become the expert in the market statistic, and that you use them in every presentation, right? So, you also use the market statistic to update your client, right? And keep them informed in the market, right? So very important that you understand supply, demand, absorption, right? And so, so that you can talk to your client. Yeah. So I wrote down here is that yes, if when you go back and talk to your client, you ask the question. You ask your client one question, right? You know, Mr. Seller, do you understand what the market statistics mean and how they affecting the sale of your property, right? If your client is not clear about 100%, re-explain to them about the market statistics. I think it's all about a number, right? It's being logical, being professional about it. Because I understand that seller and principal and client, they are very emotional, and so if you bring fact, data, information, right, and you explain and talk to your client in a logical way, that would make it work, right, in today's market. So I wrote down here that yes, we work great on the customer service, for every client, right? So what that means is that you got to be, on a weekly basis, you communicate with your client and be very truthful, be very upfront, communicate between you and your client regarding the competition, regarding the inventory that compete with your listing to sell, right? So you really have to look at all that factor, and because a lot of situation happen is that when you go to your client, right, you don't have the regular communication, you not educate and update your client, and then bam, you go into your client, you ask for the price reduction, that's gonna create a problem, right? And so stay in touch, communicate with your client on a regular basis. Yeah, so I wrote down here is that we have to learn very quickly as possible of the seller net price, right? And work quickly and efficiently in the next 30 days, 45 days to get that price, right? If the property is still on the market. So take a look at, for example, if you have a builder, right? If you have a builder or investor on the property and they purchase the property in the upward trending market, right? Where you bought land at the high price, at that when you pay for the entitlement at the high price, right? And then suddenly the market is changing, right? So, they're, they're depending on the 10 and 12% profit that they expecting to get, right? But that worked great in the upward trending market where the pricing in the last 7-8 years it gone up by 10 double digit 10% annually. So if the market is flat out, right, and if the market is flat out, the pricing is not going up, and the profit margin is evaporated, it's gone away, right? So in that situation, most of the investors, they do not want to proceed forward with the transaction, right? So you really have to learn and understand, what would be the net bottom line of the sell price, right? And so offer the quick solution for the customer, right? So the next one that I wrote down here is that you follow up in every client showing, and get the buyer concerned and remark, and telling and sharing with your principal, right? So if every client come, and sold the property, for example, you need to get like a feedback from them, right? And tell, and so that you get the information, you know, uh, for example, getting the feedback on somebody that looking at the property, ask them the reason why they didn't proceed to purchase the property, and give them a feedback, anything regarding condition, price, right? Right? So things like that, but you can report to your client and be honest with your client about that when you report it back to them, right? So, I talk a lot about, Zig Ziglar and her quote that he said that, every day you wake up, you check up from the neck up, right? Checking on your mindset, right? Be positive and be strong, right? And so that you can take a strong approach, to your client, right? And you want it to be, you want to be positive, in the challenging time like it when you're working with your client, right? You can only you cannot give something that you don't have, right? So which is the, with your attitude, with your approach, right? With a solution, right? And with your enthusiasm, you approaching the client, because nobody gonna work with a professional that negative, right? That really, I mean, negative. It's not really negative. It's not attractive, right? So you want to be really strong, right? So keep that strong mindset as you approaching into this market this year, right? Um, this is a very this is a very good time, to be in the real estate. If you look at most of the people in the business, they're withdrawing, right? In the great market, we have 100% of the people participate, but now if you look at the percentage of the people to participate in the business, it's probably going to be like 25% of the people or 30% of the people still participate, right? When you have the volume of the business still the same, right? So if the most of the people are withdrawing, they become negative. When you withdraw, when your mindset is negative, you absolutely not going to take action, right? And you're probably not going to be working, right? So the key to be success in the declining market, growing, expanding, helping more clients, helping your family with more income, is to be positive, right? And remember, you are the professional, right? You are the professional. You dare to help, right? So this is the time for a client, for a professional, to stand up, and meet the market head on, and do the job that you are hired to do, right? Would be, helping client, providing a solution for your client, you know, challenge that they face it, right? So you really think about that, and so uh, we have a great advanced business workshop that we're going to be sending out an email to inviting you to our workshop, that where we continue to learn, best idea and strategy, And so you know you're probably gonna be receive that email, you know, from us, right? So again, you know, it's I you know, call our office, right? Send me an email, or you know, we're here to help you. So with that, you know, I appreciate that you taking time from your schedule today to watch in this program, and remember to subscribe to the channel below. Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.